Wife cheated on me at her friend's wedding, lied and manipulated me until she's exposed and ghosted. I'm 36, am married for 4 years and no kids. My wife returned from her friend's wedding last month, and since then she has been acting strange. My thoughts are running wild. I do feel guilty of suspecting her without any grounds, but at the same time, I don't want to be stupid to ignore the red flags. I have been actively following this space for a long time, and I'm afraid that my situation feels a lot similar to hundreds of cheating posts I read here. Brief context. Wife's friend was getting married at a countryside wedding. I was also invited as the +1, but I couldn't make it because of my work schedule. Also, I was not very enthusiastic about attending the wedding because I haven't been that close with this friend. She's wife's work friend, and I have met her only a couple of times at work parties, but wife claimed she was close and couldn't miss the wedding. Her choice. After returning from the wedding, she has been acting strange and cold. I asked her what's the matter. She said nothing, just work-related stress, piled up work due to wedding leaves. I understand that stress, but it's been over a month now, and she's still giving cold shoulders. I don't know if this should matter, but we had sex only twice in this entire period. That too, only when I initiated and insisted. Honestly, I felt like I was forcing her, so after that I stopped getting intimate with her. I have asked her many times if she wanted to talk about it, but she just doesn't open up. All this is so scary. I snooped on her phone but didn't find anything suspicious. I'm just so annoyed at her gaslighting. She's not telling anything, and neither she's behaving normally. God knows what she's up to. I also don't know how to address this situation. I have done everything possible. Talking, giving her the time, ignoring, and even snooping her phone and laptop. Anyone facing this situation, any advice for me on how you have tackled such a passive-aggressive situation? Thanks much in advance. Update 1. Thanks for all the suggestions. Some of you commented that maybe she was angry at me for something and was acting passive-aggressive. I couldn't think of anything which would have upset her. Also, she's usually vocal about her feelings and doesn't give silent treatment. I had already confronted her many times before my first post. I was not very keen on talking to her again, but I swallowed my pride and asked her if she was mad at me for anything. She said, "No, why do I ask?" I asked if she was mad that I didn't make it to her friend's wedding because she had been acting all weird after returning from the wedding. She said nothing as such. She was just tired and stressed because of the work. It went on for another couple of months. Her mood swings went on and off during this period. Sometimes I felt things were getting normal, but after a while it went to square one. I spoke to my friends about this, and they suggested this to be just a phase that would pass on. So I started ignoring it and focused more on my work and my well-being. Last week, I got to know why she has been behaving this way. It was at her office's annual function. I have been attending it every year, but this year she was reluctant to take me. It usually happens a week prior to Thanksgiving. At the start of NOV, I asked her several times if we got the invitation, but she said no, God knows what was her plan. Just a couple of days before the event, she told me about the venue and dress code. When I saw the email, it came weeks ago, she said she missed the email. Anyways, she was not at all enthusiastic about attending the event and was looking for ways to skip the function. But her hesitance made me suspicious, and I insisted that we attend. The party was going great, and everyone was very normal with me. No red flags, but wife was too guarded. She wasn't enjoying it at all. She didn't leave me alone with anyone. Usually, that's never the case. She uses that opportunity to hang out with senior officials of the company while I chit-chat with her colleagues and juniors. But this time, she didn't leave me even for a moment. The friend whose wedding I mentioned at the start of this thread also showed up with her husband. I spoke to them and apologized for not being able to make it to the wedding. They were cool, and it was all so normal. As the party progressed, that friend's husband got drunk and spilled the beans. He was like, "Oh man, you should have been there at our wedding. Your wife was looking so ravishing and twerking like a mermaid. My friends went crazy for her, and my best man asks for her number even to this day. He had such a good time with her." Before he could say anything, his wife pulled him away. She said he was too drunk and didn't know what he was speaking, and nothing such had happened at the wedding. I could have let it slide if Brenda, my wife, didn't behave this way after returning from the wedding. Even when her colleague's husband was speaking, she intervened him multiple times, changing the topic. Finally, when he went nonstop, She called her friend who was talking to others at that time, and she dragged her husband away. If this was not a red flag, then nothing is. Not only me, her other colleagues and their spouses who were present in that conversation also understood what was going on. They were smirking and rolling their eyes at each other. I excused myself and went aside. It was so embarrassing for me. Shortly after that, I saw Brenda's friend leaving the party with her husband, who had almost passed out. Brenda came to me and acted normal. I gave her a look to explain what just happened. She said, "Did you see how smashed he was? Do you think he was in his right senses to speak any truth?" She again lied and manipulated the situation. She got drunk too. I don't know if she was actually drunk or was acting her way to avoid the conversation. I waited for the next day. She tried avoiding me, but I didn't have the patience to bear with her tantrums anymore. I told her that I have a feeling that she has cheated at her friend's wedding, so instead of avoiding or lying about it, better she come clean on this and confess. I grabbed her phone. She tried snatching it, but I opened the conversation with her friend, and there she was rebuking her friend's big-mouthed husband for exposing her. I'm sure she would have changed the password that day, but she was caught off guard. Even after all this, she was lying that her friend's husband was just drunk. After hours of yelling and victim playing, she finally put her guard down. She said it was just a one-time thing, and she was so smashed that when the groomsmen made a move, she wasn't able to control herself. It pissed me off so badly that I punched on the table and hurt myself. My anger was not only because she had cheated on me, but she had been gaslighting the situation all this while. She said it was her guilt that she was behaving this way. If it was guilt, she should have behaved her best and strengthened our relationship instead of avoiding me. Her face disgusted me, and I wasn't able to bear her anymore. I took my phone, iPad, and left the house. She didn't call or text me, but yesterday, which was 2 days post D-Day, she texted, "Where are you? When you'll be home? How long will you take to cool down? Sorry," and all that guilt-tripping stuff. I've been living with my friend since that day, and the thought of going back to her makes me giddy. I don't know what next would I do, but right now I'm not in a good state of mind. Update 2. I decided to divorce her because I got to know something more. Let me fill up from the last post. I stayed with my friend for a few more days. Brenda texted and called requesting me to return home. I didn't respond to any of those. To be honest, I wasn't able to make up my mind about what to do next. My friend suggested that I talk to that friend's husband who spilled the beans. I found him on social media and texted him, requesting a meeting. At first, he tried to cover up and apologized for the misunderstanding. He said he was drunk, so I shouldn't take him seriously. I told Brenda has confessed to cheating, and I really want to talk to him. I requested him not to tell this to his wife or Brenda. He agreed. I asked him for the details about that day. Initially, he was reluctant, but seeing my condition, he told me everything. So it came out that my darling wife had cheated on me not once but multiple times in those 2 days of the wedding event, and it was not a heat-of-the-moment thing. She was seen with the groomsmen all throughout the 2 days, hanging out, dancing, and flirting, and they both escaped most part of the wedding functions and were put up in their hotel room. Their closeness was evident to everyone present at the wedding, and people thought them to be a couple. I asked him if it was true that his friend was asking for Brenda's number. He said yes, his friend was interested in her, not for a serious relationship, but he thinks Brenda to be a woman interested in hookups because of the way she was laying herself on that day. This was such extreme information that I felt I had never known my wife. I wanted to know what was she even thinking that day, but after so much drama, I realized getting closure was not worth, because despite all this, she was still lying and showed herself in a good light. I'm sure she would never reveal her actual feelings. But the meeting cleared my thoughts. I was now adamant about divorcing her. I went home during her office hours, packed my stuff, and shifted with my friend. She panic-called me after that, but I ghosted her. When the divorce paper reached her, she texted me that she wanted to meet once before signing it. I agreed to meet at a public place. She came with red, puffy eyes and tried her last bet, requesting for a chance. I said I know the whole truth. I don't know, I might have forgiven her if she confessed to everything after returning from the wedding, but she didn't. She instead made my life hell, and even after she was exposed, she confessed only half the truth, throwing the blame on the guy. She sobbed and said she had quit the job because that night some of the other colleagues also heard the conversation that she cheated on me, and the gossip had spread around. People are mocking and labeling her as a cheater at work. I told her I had made up my mind, and no amount of tears, and pleading is going to change that, so better if we separate amicably. She signed the divorce papers after a few days and vacated the house. We still have a year and a few months left for the lease, so I came back here, but I desperately want to move out of this house. She has moved out most of the stuff, and only a few of her discarded clothes and accessories were here which I have disposed of, but the home decor and some of the other stuff that we bought together are pathetic to look at after all this. I don't think I can say I have moved on, not even an inch, but I'm hopeful I would. Living alone is much better than living in that toxicity.